Yes, he has a very good antecedent. I can testify to that. I remember when he was the chairman of Obiakpo local government area in River State. I know what he did to those who collect matching grounds before, you know, they allocate lands to you. So when he says, look, houses that have been left uninhabited for 15 years in Abuja, more than 15 years, yeah, rendering empty. Those houses, estates, you know, abodes for criminals, that government will reclaim those. When he says that...
Wait a minute. You build houses 15 years they're uninhabited? What sort of... If you got a loan from the bank to build those houses, you would give them out so that you can recoup your funds. Yes. Let them check the money that built those houses. You know, anyway, it's laundering most of the time.
Yes.
Anyhow.
Chooks, that's the lead story on the Daily Sun. It says, as Tinubu inaugurates cabinet, Wike reveals how PDP governors recommended 10 ministers. Now, there are riders to that story. President asks appointees to serve with integrity, dignity, deliver on promises. FCT minister talks tough. Vows to restore Abuja master plan, demolish illegal structures, and Omai will not disappoint Mwifuru and Ayim. I mean, these are stories that I'm sure people will clamor to, you know, get the newspapers to read. Yes. And for this paper, Daily Sun, those details are on pages 6 and 7. Again, Wike, as Tinubu inaugurates cabinet, Wike reveals how PDP governors recommended 10 ministers. But the most important, you know, stories there are the riders, which you need to take note of. And we'll see that picture story with Minister Wike, all smiles and in his characteristic dark shades. Of course, in a handshake with Minister, Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, during swearing in of ministers in Abuja yesterday. So let us go to other stories now, also making the front page story. FG commends NDDC on budget process. It's on 28. Gunmen kill livestock guard commander in Benue. Youths won't be patient when resources are being looted. CSOs warn federal government. And Tuga to unveil a new foreign policy vision. Of course, that's the new Minister of Foreign Affairs. Nigeria broke, declares JP Morgan, says net forex reserves estimated at $3.7 billion. And I mean, we talked about this, Jume, you remember, when Professor Uche Waleke talked about the reality of what we have in our foreign reserves. That's, of course, if you take away those that have been encumbered. Yes. And he says we have very, you know, limited foreign reserves. Now, JP Morgan is saying Nigeria is broke. We have less than $3.7 billion dollars in our foreign reserves. And there's also a paper, just before Jume comes in, we have another paper. I just quickly bring that out. It's the Daily Times. The Daily Times, we're having to review Daily Times now. That's interesting. And the Daily Times says, just a moment, I'm just trying to get it out. Yes, Daily Times says, I'll step on toes, demolish buildings, no matter who owns them. Again, Wike is trending, Wike vows. That's the lead story on the front page of the Daily Times. And job scammers dupe victims of 765 million naira in Delta, but 5 nabbed. Now, there are others. Increase allowances to your wives. AIG says armed robbers kill retired cop and wife. And Tinubu's recent ministers also trending there. Nyako loses at Adamawa Election Tribunal. Now, subsidy removal trending at the foot of the paper. Bayelsa pays wage award to workers. And of course, just above the nameplate of the Daily Times, Deputy Speaker floats novel idea on roads development in Nigeria. Now, that's the outlook of the Daily Times front page. Jume.
Yes, let me bring the Daily Times newspaper this morning, and
I've just read the Daily Times.
Oh, you read the Daily Times?
Yes, you have leadership.
Yes, I have leadership newspaper. Yeah, I thought it's the Daily Trust you read. And just above the masthead, we have Taraba Task Force arrest 3,500 illegal miners. You find the details on page 19. Governor Sani slashes fees in Kaduna tertiary schools. You find the details on page 19 also. And going down just below the masthead, trending, Tinubu says he will hold ministers to account. And financial credit to governor rises by 3.5%. Contractors milking federal government through new expatriate quota policy. You find the details on page 7. Adamawa Rec petitions NBA over planned disciplinary action. Details on page 7. Tinubu to ministers, get to work. Nigerians won't tolerate failure. With riders, warn cabinet members against regional politics. Ministers resume, unveil policy directions. Illegal structure will go down in FCT. Wike vows, says he got PDP's not to serve in APC government. First FEC meeting holds on Wednesday. And Nigeria to raise $17 billion from asset sales. That's coming from JP Morgan. Chibok girl to marry repentant terrorist. You find the details on page 6 and you see the picture story there. President Bola Tinubu congratulating the new ministers, Nyesom Wike, Mohammed Idris Malagi, Dele Alake Solid Minerals, Festus Kiamo, Imam Suleiman Ibrahim, and Tahir Mamman at the presidential villa in Abuja yesterday during the swearing-in ceremony. Chooks.
It sounds a bit weird, but she seems to have found nuptial happiness.
Yeah, she escaped. They escaped together.
Yeah, actually,
reading,
they said they were, arrested by
They were rescued.
Rescued, rather. Yeah, well, rescue. The husband himself, if we can call him husband.
Yes, I think he was captured too.
He's a terrorist. It's just that this lady says the man has repented. So
some of them, growing up in Medjugorje, some of them were taken from their homes.
Yes.
Young boys taken from their homes, forced
against
to go.
their
Yes,
wishes.
so that's why I think they planned to escape, because he was married to 2 other jihadist terrorists before she married. She's
married about three
yes,
men
and
now?
she lost a baby girl she gave birth to in the
dear.
forest. So this one, they planned it together and behaved as if they were going somewhere and escaped.
Yeah, she says, I want to reunite with Boko Haram husband. Trust journalists.
Yes,
I want to reunite with Boko Haram husband. Actually, the 2 of them were rescued. Let's use the word rescued.
Yes,
and she says, the man has repented. I want to be with him. And then, for crying out loud.
At least that's a choice.
That's a choice.
That's a deliberate choice. So and
she said 2 more Chibok girls are still in the place she escaped from.
Exactly.
But one thing is that how old is she?
27 also.
Yeah.
I think, I saw 27.
So she's an adult.
She spent 10 years.
She's an adult.
Yes.
She's an adult. But if you look at the story, really, what should strike us is that it seems that our troops are really dealing with these people.
Yes.
You get the impression that it is seasonal.
Hunger.
Hunger. Okay? And because she is the 16th girl rescued by troops in recent months.
Yes.
16th in recent months. Come on, guys.
No, there's an end to everything.
Yes.
Oh, there is. Fatigue has set in. They are beginning to find out that they hit a blind alley the day they started this.
Yes.
But somebody was deceiving them, or some people were deceiving them. There's one that is not too savory. You want to add something to that?
Go ahead, Chuk.
There's one that is not too savory here. Pedestrians abandon Lagos Bridge over open defecation. There are certain things we should not be listening to in this century. Unfortunately, these things happen. And it's not just homeless people that do this, people who sleep under the bridge. They are saying now that pedestrians in the Ilekbo area of the Alimosho local government area in Lagos State have blamed the incessant defecation on the pedestrian bridge for the reason why they cross the highway. Now they are saying that this thing is done at night. So what do you do? Give us floodlights there and expose them with their shameless anuses.
Yes.
Let the world see them. Put floodlights there.
Chukwudi, there are 2 sides to that story.
Okay.
One on the part of the citizens, the people themselves. In places where you have floodlights, even here in Abuja, how many people use the pedestrian bridges?
Oh, use or non-use of pedestrian bridges, the pedestrian bridge is a different story entirely. Have you been to Nyanya of late?
No, because
you see them running right in front of vehicles on the highway under the pedestrian bridge.
So that's no excuse that the place is about, but it is a problem. And again, that challenges the ministries, because it's an interdisciplinary issue.
Yes.
Ministry of Water Resources and Ministry of Environment. And under the SDGs, ending open defecation is one of the goals. And I know that the Ministry of Water Resources have been very active, especially here in Abuja, with the wash hygiene campaign. So I think efforts need to be strengthened in that area. The story is trending, this morning. It's just about the, ministers swearing in yesterday, and of course, Minister Wike's knocks,
Yeah, you like him on the board.
No. I'm excited about. Sorry, Jimmy.
Yes.
I'm excited about Umahi. I'm excited about Wike. I'm excited about Dr. Betta. I'm excited about the innovation man. That's I think it's Bosun. Yes, I'm excited about this portfolios and those because of the experience they bring. It's not just on paper.
Even the information sector.
Yes, even the Ministry of Information.
Yes, he brings in a wealth of experience.
You just mentioned Umahi, and I'm doing an article already. Umahi and Nigerian steel.
Yeah.
For crying out loud, that steel matter has dragged on for too long. It doesn't make sense anymore. Umahi has
it's
a
always
track
in
record.
the budget, always in the budget, but nothing is
steel
done.
does not mess up the Umahi record, because it's as if it is jinxed. What is happening?
But Umahi is not steel.
Oh, sorry.
Umahi is works. Steel is Dele Alake.
No, solid minerals.
Sorry, Dele Alake.
Dele Alake is solid
minerals. Yes. Umahi is works.
Yes. Okay. Whatever happens, sorry for the mix-up there.
Yeah.
The situation with steel in this country has become something that should embarrass us on and on. Remember that steel is at the core of real industrial development. If you don't have it, you don't get off the ground at all. So that is actually my main point of bringing that up.
Yes,
we have to get around it.
One aspect of the Wike's statement that I loved is light up Abuja. All the street lights should be on. Because that's where we have little crimes, in the dark corners, people stabbing, collecting hands.
But
if all the lights, the floodlights are working,
but I want to do a little tafia.
Okay, just 30 seconds.
The traffic lights suddenly have started working. Under a Chinese, arrangement with us, the lights are working. But I see one yellow light on top of it, and the rumor is that it can take your picture when you cross the light, when you dip the light. So
that would be fantastic.
Some people are going to be forced to become well behaved.
We have to end you. We have to go out and light the street and light the environment. All right, Chuks boy.
Thank you very much, ladies.
Again. Thank you.
Usual.
Thank you for brightening our day.
Thank you so much.
All right, let's take a short break now, and we'll come back for our conversation.
My hope is that
you're welcome back, and you're still watching Good Morning Nigeria. Before we begin our conversation, which focuses on President Tinubu's charge to ministers, let's take this background report as put together by our State House correspondent, Musbah Wahab.
The renewed Hope Crusader has taken the lead in the implementation of his manifestos to actualize the dreams and aspirations of Nigerians. But he is expected to go faster and farther. He has chosen some helping hands for the supervision of ministries and for efficient and effective governance. 48 were called, but these 45 are the chosen ones as confirmed by the National Assembly. They would commit their loyalty to the Federal Republic of Nigeria and the President and Commander-in-Chief.
With the inauguration of ministers today, we are about to accelerate our governing efforts to move forward, realizing our best aspiration for Nigeria.
Much expectations and aspirations for a greater Nigeria. Their principal clearly understands this as he prepares his subordinates that be called to service to engender developmental activities much needed in the country is not going to be a walk in the park.
Nigeria expect that you will serve with integrity, dignity, and deliver. I will hold you to that standard. We all promise Nigerians. Your assignment began immediately. Minister of Federal Republic you are, not minister of a region or minister of a particular state.
We have to start work immediately. And there are new opportunities in the power sector today, unlike before. All the legislations required for the unbundling of the value chain has been passed.
Everybody knows what's been happening in that solid mineral sector of the economy. It's been frittered away. Nigeria has been shortchanged. We've been receiving the shorter end of the stick. There is going to be a critical departure from that norm.
We are hoping for the best for this renewed hope agenda of the current administration. We have work to do, and it starts now as a parliament.
Thank you.
And so the renewed hope manifesto of this administration can now be properly translated into policies and programs and implemented at a faster pace with the additional hands of these new ministers on the deck.
All right, our State House correspondent there, Musbat and Wahab, giving us the background to our conversation today. If you've just joined us, we welcome you as we begin our conversation, and we're looking at Mr. President's charge or mandate to the newly sworn-in ministers. And let me begin our introductions from here in the studio. Let me welcome Professor Oke Ikechukwu, Professor of Strategic Management and Human Capital Development. He's live here in our studio. Good morning, Professor. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Also here in our studios is Honorable Dan Manjang, his former Commissioner for Information and Communication, Plateau State. Honorable Manjang, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And let's link up with our guest in the Niger State, Professor Mohammed Yahayakuta, former Secretary to the State Government SSG from Niger State. He's joining us from our Kaduna studio. Thank you so much for joining us.
Pleasure to join you this morning. Thank you. Good morning, Nigeria.
Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us. I'm sure we are all excited that the ministers have finally been assigned portfolios and sworn in. And like the president said, it's time to accelerate the act of governance. But let's begin. I'd like to begin with looking at the quality of Mr. President's speech. Let me begin with Professor Ikechukwu, who is a professor of strategic management and human capital development. How do you evaluate Mr. President's speech in terms of quality? Yes, he had a script, he had his speech written, but he also added, spoke extempore.
So I think the speech is in good taste. He said the right things. It's for the ministers to comply. And when I say he said the right things, the usual mistaken assumption when one gets an appointment is that it has come to our people. So it's more like it's a quote-unquote chopping opportunity. So he took time deliberately, and I think that's good, to tell the appointees that, listen, you're not to work for your people or your state. And this, I say this against the background of my, should I say, tenure as Special Assistant to the Minister of Transport, who was actually summoned by his community after after a number of months in that office to demand an explanation. At that time, I wasn't here. He was approaching me to be his minister, his special assistant When I learned the context of the invitation, I decided to go so that I see the type of man he is and whether I would work with him, as I said. That was Ojo Madeko. And they were very blunt and straightforward about it. You've been minister for this number of months. We've not seen any sign that you're a minister. Our people are not getting jobs and all of that. Very elaborate. He was the only person on the other side, every other person. Tell us why this nonsense is going on. And he stood up. He said, listen, I was appointed Minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, not of Abia State, not of my community, not for my cousins, and that we're actually aides of the president. And that if every minister services his people only, who would serve Nigeria? That experience struck. So, but of course the challenges will come. There was also another instance, after that he had gone for his church event, donated 50,000, and the presiding priest said, no, Honorable Minister, this is beneath you. We're expecting that you will bring all the money. Naturally, out of politeness, you keep quiet and smile. Ojo didn't keep quiet and smile. He got up, went and took the microphone. So you see, people like you don't belong in the church. You are the ones who encourage public officers to steal. You know my salary. Assuming I donated 20 million here, you will join in clapping instead of asking me, where did you get the money from? And I speak from life experience. So the ministers, they've got the directive, but they have an additional challenge, namely the wrong expectations of the people. Their cousins are going to approach them, the local government, the traditional ruler. We've already developed a wrong political culture of inappropriate demand from public office holders. That challenge will be there. And I think the charge of the president is for them to perform in spite of it. Not that he doesn't know that the challenge is there, but he's telling them, show the kind of people you are by serving Nigeria instead of a small section of Nigeria.
Oh, thank you so much, Professor. Okay, you've brought out something that is personal, and I'm sure Nigerians will understand the fact that President Tinubu is emphatic on the fact that you're working for the Federal Republic of Nigeria and not your state or ethnicity or religion or something. That kind of got to me while he was making that speech. Let's bring in Honorable Dan Majang. You've been within the system, you know how the system rolls, and let's have your opinion about this huge responsibility that is, on the shoulders of these new ministers, with the fact that they are standing on the shoulders of an achiever, somebody who has paved way for so much development in the state, and now he's at the center and he's telling them, you must follow the rules and regulations, and your integrity and dignity is in focus here. Let's have your take.
Yes, well, as a matter of fact, thank you so much. What Prof said is apt. What I actually expected to hear in the president's speech, like it is often being charged when we were in government, swearing in is done, and the governor charges the political appointees, charges their families and their friends not to exert pressure on them so that they will not be corrupt. But as a matter of fact, this country, a lot needs to be done. And if we look at the portfolios, if we look at the responsibilities, they are enormous, they are daunting. The people that have been placed there have a lot to do. Before we came in, Claire was talking about ministries that were interesting. All the ministries are interesting because the challenges are there, and some of the pedigree of these appointees, some have been tested very well, and good testimony is given about them, but that does not mean that they will need to go to sleep. We woke up one day and then petrol prices just rose, and then we have to grapple with that. We are grappling with the economy, and so there's a lot that needs to be done. And I'm very, very optimistic that with the caliber of people that have been so appointed, it is not going to be business as usual. Our communities, our people, like Prof said, they own When you are appointed, they say this is our own. In fact, they run jingles and advertorials to congratulate their own in court. And if you go the wrong way, they own you, including your criminality. Some people have been jailed in this country, and people don't see anything wrong in what has happened. They own their criminality. Yes, this is, like I have always said, and people laugh, this is our thief. Yes, we know he stole our common good.
It doesn't matter.
Yes, it doesn't matter. He is our thief, so they own him. And it is unfortunate. And the import of the speech yesterday, because Mr. President re-echoed it at the end of it. You are not the minister of any state. You are not the minister of any colony. It portends hard work, and it was a very short speech, but very pungent. And so the ministers have to hit the ground running, as it is said. So they should be able to also study. They should look carefully. There are people that are there. There are technocrats that are there to assist them. They should study the situation and make sure they come up with a blueprint that Nigerians will be happy that they were so appointed. And that is where I'm going, that the task is undaunting, is enormous. There's a lot that needs to be done, and they have to employ the right hands. The consultants that will help them must be people that know their onions.
All right, indeed, the task is daunting, but certainly not surmountable. Honorable Manjang, thank you. I still would like us to examine further the quality of the president's short but powerful speech, and to decipher the behavior and body language of Mr. President now. That's why I want to bring in Professor Kuta. What do you think? If you listen to Mr. President's previous speeches, the first time he was sworn in, the first thing that came was subsidy is gone. And then the next we hear is Nigeria is back. These are very active, short statements the president has been making. Now he's given very powerful charges, a number of charges that we will look into presently. But what does it tell us about the president's behavior, the president's body language to governance going forward?
And I salute my colleagues, particularly my respected Professor Okechukwu. And you have set the ball rolling with a valid example, because they say experience is the best teacher. And that is where I'm going to take us to the popular saying of the legendary leader of Singapore, Lee Kuan Yew. In a short speech, he said, Lee Kuan Yew, he said to the whole world that Singapore was built on 3 treasures. 1, financial treasure. 2, social treasure. And 3, good governance. That's governance treasure. The financial treasure is to build their foreign reserves so that the investors will have confidence and that they are able to do a lot of things for Singapore. And the social treasure, which for me, I'm a living example, is about unity of the people of Singapore. And I believe in a country like Nigeria, unity is our major challenge. While the president has said, I didn't appoint any of you because you are representing a colony or an ethnic interest. You are going to work for the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And that unity that has become a challenge because we have differences which is supposed to be our bond of strength, our ethnicity, our differences in religion. He also pointed out to the issue of inclusivity, which is a breaking point for those who feel that they want to divide us based on our differences in religion, ethnic, or regional boundaries, Mr. President has charged that he is going to be an inclusive government. And the third one that Lee Kuan Yew said is about good governance, which borders on integrity, accountability, and transparency. So Mr. President charged the ministers that you have to serve with integrity, dignity, and delivery. So the delivery is that you must deliver. If you don't deliver, I know this president will not take any answer for a no. No performance is not going to be part of his dictionary. So I believe this is a clarion call, and everybody appointed 45 out of 250 million Nigerians is a rare privilege. That is, to be appointed as minister in this point in our time of national history, is that you are very lucky that you are one of those saddled with responsibility. And for me, it's a mixed bag of experienced hands, young and dynamic innovators, and indeed, you can say it loud and clear, those who have demonstrated passion in their present callings, either in the private sector or in the public space. So therefore, it is not going to be business as usual, where you are going to be, you hold somebody hostage for bureaucratic bottlenecks. If you don't deliver, there's going to be a challenge. So everybody is rounding to go. So based on Mr. President's short, powerful speech, yes, there are challenges, but they're not insurmountable. I believe in every challenge lies an opportunity, because they say necessity is the mother of invention. I'm very sure the challenges that we find ourselves as a nation now, many nations have passed through these. And there are some of those countries today, they are competing with the first world. And I'm sure Nigeria is on the verge of changing the narrative of being part of the first world.
Yes, Nigeria is trying to change the narrative. As you can see, the Vice President is in Johannesburg for the BRICS meeting, and I believe that is all about to do with the economy in Nigeria. And the presidency is embarking on some of the boldest reforms ever in Nigeria, and he has charged the ministers that they now bear responsibility in shaping this policy. Professor Oke, shaping policy, bringing up policy is one thing, shaping them and implementing them is another, and which we always have a problem in this country with implementing.
minister. It is from this ministry that all chief press secretaries are sent. So for me to inform Nigerians, I need to get reports from you. Now, with that kind of address, there's what you might call a family perception of unity. And then introduce, look, at the end of every month, I will check the best report from the press secretaries, and it was given an award. Now, backtracking to the actual question you asked, the point to make as far as I'm concerned is that these are 3 levels. These appointments are about service to Nigeria, not to your people. Get the ministry staff involved, realizing that the PAMSEC is actually the administrative head. Make sure the briefing they give you is not the generic briefing. Get specifics. What are the things they've achieved in the last year? Like when Chikelu came, part of the briefing he got indicated that leave allowances were paid on time. And he called politely, not to disgrace anybody, say, gentlemen, this should not be part of the handover note. The function of the Minister of Information is what I need to be briefed on. So these are administrative details. So you saw administrative reports were taken over from professional reports. Those are the sort of things they should do. And then let them not start thinking of new policies. Oh, I'm now Minister for Industry. My tenure will be characterized by this policy. Take all that's been going on before you. Study. Find the ones that are left not fully implemented. There's no new policy any minister will bring today that will amuse or frighten anybody. You will see what will happen. The Minister of Education will organize a national summit on education. He doesn't need to at all. The education roadmap, or be left one, it will improve it. And the challenges are on the table, but you hold that, then produce a communique. That communique will have recommendations, but it will have no implementation strategies, and it will have no key performance indicators. This is the 21st century. The ministers should walk the way the rest of the world walks. And the dancing, there doesn't need, you said we are excited. I'm not excited. This is what should happen. So we don't place excitement where it doesn't belong. Why should I be excited that ministers are appointed? They ought to be appointed. They ought to do their job. Now their performance will excite me.
Okay, I think I like Honorable Manjang to also weigh in on that. Before I have a question for Professor Ikechukwu.
Yes, thank you very much. You know, one of the imports of the president's speech actually is that he has rated the ministers high. He rated them high because he said, I chose you because your pedigree, because of this and that. And like Kuta said, he knows his president. We know him. He will not take anything for a no for an answer. And because of that, what Prof has said, this continuity. What happens in this country, which is wrong, many instances, is that people, you meet a policy on ground, you throw it overboard, you bring your own policies, you go, your projects are not completed. You have to look at continuity. You have to look at the projects that will bring positive development, that will improve the quality of lives of Nigerians, and continue with them. And like he did say, this is no longer a tea party. We do not have a time. We do not have time for excitement in this country. We have to move this country forward. We have all that it takes in Nigeria to move the country forward. Is it human capital? Is it human resources? Is it natural resources? What is it? I studied geography at some point, and we did the geography of North America. And I can tell you, even the waterways, we have enough waterways, we have the land, we have the people. In Nigeria, we need a drive, somebody that will give us a push. But again, the body language of the ministers also counts. Already, some of the ministers that have spoken are sending jitters into the minds of the people. I'm saying this because I have had a lot of commentaries between yesterday and today, but the body language and even the disposition of the ministers would show whether the the people on ground are going to even cooperate with them. For example, let me give you a quick one. The Minister of Labour, who happens to be my principal before, his body language is he has a calm disposition. Labour people would look at, yes, exactly. Labour disposition, Labour people, once you come with a posture that you are going to fight them, they would, yes, combative, they will be ready to fight you from day one. Yes, from day one. But when you come with a calm disposition, he has done that in the past. They will be ready to listen to you. Let us listen to this man. But when I will not name names. There are people that if they were given that portfolio already from day one, they will crash from day one. Yes, before they are sworn in. And so,
with so many issues hanging around
so
the
many
Labour,
issues
yes.
hanging. And when Claire was talking about interesting ministries, I said, well, my former principal has fallen into it. But because of this, he has done it in the past. Yeah. The national NLC gave him an award. Yes. And they used to call him in Plateau State Governor Alert. And he did that. He paid backlog of salaries of 8 months and arrears and then he continued until he left office. And so that type of man, there's compassion. So we have to also look at the issues very well. I had Dele Alake speaking when he was given, a lot of people thought that he would be giving information. Yeah. But that notwithstanding, once you know your onions, that is the most important thing, that you can walk anywhere. We have had a situation in Plateau State under the past administration that a professor of education was appointed the minister or the commissioner of health. But she worked very well because she had people, she had doctors, she had directors that knew what they were doing. Her own is just to take the final, whatever issues that are brought are given to her, and then they advise her on what to do, and it went fine. At this time, I don't think that we need to be talking about round pegs in round holes, because there are already the directors, the permanent secretaries are technocrats. They are there to guide. It is the disposition of the minister. He shouldn't come and say, he shouldn't come as a boss, he should come as a leader. And the president owns the appointments, and he owns the government. He talks that it is our government, it is our government, it is our government, more than what other people would say. That otherwise some people would say, it is my government will do this, my government will do this. But this president is saying our government. That is the most important thing. Honorable
Manjang, thank you. I didn't overlook, labor and employment. Yes, when I was talking about interesting ministries, indeed that is a ministry I would say is really encumbered. It right now, the minister, Right Honorable Simon, Bakula Long, has its responsibilities cut out for him. I mean, you saw the charge from Mr. President that he should quickly, go and find a way of resolving, the challenges and finding ways of, reaching, implementing the palliatives and the minimum wage and all that. And indeed, Right Honorable Along has this mien that's alluring, yes, and a charismatic, personality. He has his ears, he has a listening, quality. So there's no doubt about that. But Jume, I know you want to bring in.
Yes, we have to bring him so that he can talk also about ministers working in sync with the ministries they are in charge of, with the permanent secretaries, directors, and all that. Let's have your take on how they can work together, collaborate together to, implement the policies of the president.
Why Mr. President said, I'll give you a graphic expression of Mr. President. He said, even if I'm the pilot, or even if I'm the driver, we're in this boat together. And Nigerians are watching us. So it's like he has charged all the ministers to work as a team, and they should be able to collaborate. So based on that, even the issue of territorial control is not going to be part of this Mr. President's agenda. Oh, this is exclusive for me. This is not. No, I think this is a new norm. We expect that ministers should be able to reach out to their colleagues where they have some, some relationships, like agriculture and water resources, like the emerging innovation in the marine and blue economy, transportation. They have to work together. There will be no need for competition. There will be no need for rivalry. And as he pointed out, I like to say I've learned as a coordinator of government for several years, the MDAs, the ministries, they look up to their principal, the leader, to make sure that they guide and they live according to his mission. When you look at Mr. President's inaugural speech on May 29, it was an inspiration. It was charging and reassuring Nigerians, the young and the old, the weak and the strong, that this is the new hope they have been waiting for. And this is the new Nigeria. So based on that, he came up with this assemblage that is going to champion the transformation agenda that he has brought. He has his plans. They are well laid out in the economy, in security, in food security. And of interest, you cannot do well for yourself, for your people, and for your nation if your people go to sleep hungry. So even the change of the Ministry of Agriculture from Agriculture and Rural Development to Agriculture and Food Security is an emphasis to show that we have to be self-sufficient in food production and ensure that Nigerians don't go to sleep hungry. These are some of the things that they have to work in tandem. Gone are the days where ministers and ministers of state don't see eyeball to eyeball because there is the claim that one is the boss and the other one is just following. No, Mr. President has charged them. You have to work as a team. The same thing, the bureaucrats, the technocrats, from the permanent secretary, who is the chief accounting officer of the ministry, will not allow anybody to go and report that is a clog of wheel in the wheel of progress. The same thing directors. And I can bet you from this morning or from yesterday, many of those who sit idle or who wait to be directed, as the popular language of the civil bureaucracy, I am directed. I don't think it is going to work anymore because the blueprint is already out with them. They already have the agenda. So I believe the key performance indicators of every minister will be out there and that they will continue to be monitoring and evaluation. And this is where the office of the Secretary to the Government comes in. As the head of the cabinet secretariat, who has to monitor, put forward memos for council deliberation as a ritual every week, every Wednesday, as the case may be. After the presentation, there will be continuous monitoring to find out the level of implementation, to arrest the fear and anxiety that is not the policy that matters, but with the kind of innovation that the president is bringing into this agenda, every MDA will be accountable. They will have to deliver on their mandate. If, for instance, I used to learn from my boss, who was a former permanent secretary, Dr. Muaz Babangida Aliyu, in his era, he would tell you that, well, if you, as a political head, you don't get to understand and to work with the technocrats, they watch you and watch you fail. So what I would charge every minister is that they should understand that from experience I've had working in different entities, Nigerians are endowed. You have people with some capacity in every department you go to in this country. So nobody, you don't go there and work on a tabla rasa. No. All you need to do is to listen, be a good listener, engage, and as Mr. President has said, he said he's not going to be a ruler. You are going to be a leader. You galvanize everybody. You work as a team. By the time they earn your confidence, they will give you every information that you need. And I can tell you confidently that because of the level of our attainment in terms of human capacity, we were able to deploy our experts in every MDA accordingly. We are going to deliver and we are going to change the narratives, and Nigeria is going to be better for it. As my honorable from Batwang said, it is not all about the character that you bring to the table, but your ability to also ensure that you understand the terrain. As Mr. President said, go and start, your job starts immediately. You need to understand your MDAs very well, the kind of mandate that they have, and you get yourself familiar with them. And it doesn't matter. As an administrator, your own is to coordinate and make sure that you deliver on your mandate. So if you are not able, you antagonize those who are supposed to assist you to succeed, you are going to suffer a devastating consequence, because they will leave you dry. So to me, I believe the experiences of those who are on the saddle or those who are already working in those MDAs can be invested, and we are going to have a new benchmark and at every level of our engagement, and that will translate to the critical areas where you have challenges and where you have prospects and potentials. Examples of the drivers of the economy. Mr. President has innovatively captured them, and they are going to go after where you are going to generate resources to be able to run a prosperous economy for the nation.
Professor Kuta, thank you very much, for even bringing up that very charge that you referred to. And indeed, as the saying goes, that the body is as good as the head. If the body shows if the body is frail, the head needs to be examined. And I'd like to get out that quote specifically from Mr. President. He said, in this new assignment, we are in this boat together. Even if it is a vehicle, I am the driver. The entire nation sits watchful as you and I navigate this vehicle. And again, this speaks to the responsibilities of both the president and the ministers. Professor Ikechukwu, it reminds me of leadership and management, and this is your forte. What kind of leadership should the president be providing, and how should the ministers manage?
Well, there is no special kind of leadership he needs to provide, other than to bear in mind that leadership is connected with environmental issues and justified expectations. I use those concepts: environmental issues and justified expectations. In every environment, there are economic factors, cultural factors, political, all of them. As a leader, once you mismanage any of them, you're finished. So the thing is for the president to ask himself, do I understand all the core issues? The economy is bad, but the history of that badness translates across probably the last 2 decades, with contributory factors all the way. Should I take measures to address them? The answer is yes. Now, those measures, are some of them going to have hurtful impact? The answer is yes. If people are hurting, will they be happy? No. But if they are hurting and I'm able to explain to them why the hurt is there and why it will not last forever, will they understand the answer is yes. So part of what the president must deal with or ask himself at this time is, I've been in office for, let's say, 2 months. I've taken some policy decisions and actions. Some of them are understood, some are misinterpreted. Some of them are having negative impact on people's pockets. Should communication be a drill down or should it be announcements? I think it should be a drill down. This is a time for the government to ask itself why local government chairmen exist. Why ward chairmen exist? What do they really do? What do they know about government policies? So I think this is a time to also do what you might call a TOT. People must consult. So you're talking about human capacity. Let the respective parties call their local government chairmen together and do a workshop for them on policy, on the trajectory of government, on the implications of a lot of things, and timelines when positives are being expected.
So it's like a visioner.
Visioner, but every visioner is not the administrator of his vision. So if you appoint incompetent administrators, you will not have a tenure. Because when all of you leave, nobody will remember what happened. Now, that vision is also facing other challenges, because don't forget that no matter how much you love change, you're in an environment where a lot of people are feeding on the old. And so the first challenge you're going to have will be with those who are enjoying what is bad. And so where you expect cooperation, you get sabotage. Now, should he be leading or managing? He must do both. Because if you leave and don't manage, that means there's no monitoring and evaluation. M&E is critical. The capacity for that is the question to ask. I know that when the list came out, there were initial objections. Oh, how could people be assigned certain portfolios? They mentioned KMO, for instance, in aviation, delay in solid minerals. You see, the mistaken assumption that the certificate you have determines your ability to perform is wrong. Absolutely. Obi Ezekwesili was Minister for Solid Minerals. Her degrees in education. Nobody has yet matched the reforms. She left there.
I read philosophy.
Yes, Claire read philosophy. I was a teacher. My PhD is in philosophy. I'm a professor of strategic management. I teach cybersecurity in a university. Across all the disciplines. To study philosophy, to pass JAMB, I took biology in JAMB. You see, people, it's delusional to think there's a direct connection between what you study. Osita Chidoka was FRS, what do you call it? Corps Marshal. Yes. Osita. First, he's not a military person. He's not paramilitary. I don't even think he was in Boy Scout. He didn't take part in traditional wrestling or Mano War. Go and see what he did in road safety. Yes. So we must begin to separate certification from people's knowledge pool.
Indeed, Alake said it himself. Did Alake, when our correspondent Musbadan will have interviewed him. He said, look, a lot of people feel I should
how
go.
could I be here?
He personally chose.
The point is, they will tell you, oh, you know, Dele is a journalist. Who told you that? After how many years? Dele worked with Marwa in Lagos as governor. He worked with Tinubu. Yes. He worked with Daniel. So when people's experience, you're appointed to, okay, then the president should be a professor of political science. Do you get?
Yes.
Which would be a totally absurd suggestion or submission. And so that argument is for the ministers, especially those of them who have had, oh, you know, he studied this. How can you make a lawyer the Minister of Aviation? I beg your pardon. Ojo Madoka was a lawyer and a fantastic Minister of Transport. Yes. All of these things will be put in place. Of course, I think in the case of Keyamo, his other controversies were pursuing him. But the point to note is, Keyamo I first met in 1999. He was a much younger man. I called him to the office in Jibo. I was GM of Cloud Communications. Robust, an activist. Then we started what we call a living legend series. We like our people who are likely to impact. And the warnings I gave him that you're young, you're still very idealistic. Chances are that you may not retain this idealism. I remember that. That's part of what people are saying now, but that's besides the point. The point is that to argue that because somebody is a lawyer, he cannot be minister of works or whatever, it is wrong. Because capacities are what you need to administer.
And that's what the president said.
Capacities, not yours. You have to administer capacity. So the capacity for sound judgment and sound decision making and national interest become the criteria you hold on the table and then assess the interventions of the experts.
Just before we draw the conversation to Honorable Manjang, there have been talks about what the president should, do in terms of supervision. Talks are that he needs to set goals, he needs to set targets, he needs to draw timelines and all that for his ministers. Wouldn't he be encumbered if all these are his responsibilities? What are the ministers then supposed to do within their
Every
ministries?
minister is an aide of the president, and his business is to bring a roadmap for the president to approve. If the president must now be the one to plan what they need to do, the first step he needs to do is to fire all of them and face the job. But where he needs extra intervention and attention is in the area of corruption. I believe, I may be mistaken, but this is my view, that our approach has been wrong. First of all, corruption is a distortion of values. That's why if you introduce the wrong morals to children, they say, oh, you are corrupting them. That's one. Two, when a minister, I mentioned that a moment ago, is picked up, there's a permanent secretary, there's a director of finance and accounts, there's a procurement unit, there's DPRS, all in the ministry, then there's Servicom, and there's transparency unit. If a minister or DG or whoever is picked up, all the heads of these units I've mentioned should be invited for questioning. Now, the point is not that they're accused. Oh, PAMSEC, this transpired in the ministry. You say, yes, this is the documentation. I tell you, if this category of officers are invited routinely whenever there's cases of corruption, there are things they will not act on and say, I'm directed. But for as long as we pretend that corruption occurs at the level of political leadership, that the machinery that nourishes corruption doesn't exist, that a minister just, swoops like an eagle, carries something and goes away, and you see him going to jail, you're not helping the system. Because those who took part, let's suppose the minister took 900 million. He didn't walk away with 900 million. What left this place was 900 million, but that 900 million kept suffering weight loss until he got to the minister. So it's a slightly emaciated 900 million. And now, you don't try to recover, you say, oh, this, no. That will then be a fight against corruption, not speech making.
And that's the big elephant in the room, actually.
Nobody's pretending it's not there.
It's not there. So we'll get to talk about that when we come back after this break. Don't go away.
All right, welcome back to the program. It's Good Morning Nigeria live on the network service. And just before we went on the short break, Professor Ikechukwu, of course, was speaking to my question on leadership, the context of leadership and the form that Mr. President should provide for the ministers. And we're about to bring in Honorable Manjang to also weigh in on that.
Yes.
Yes, well, as a matter of fact, when you look at what's happening now, we were talking about, the prof talked about Servicom. It only exists, you can only see the flyers or you see the stickers in offices and nothing more. There are some of the agencies that are actually practicing. I will cite an example. If you go to ITF today, you know that Sir Joseph Ari is doing fantastically well. You walk into ITF, everybody welcomes you, everybody stands up, asks you questions, where are you going, what do you want? That is Servicom. And you go back happy. But you go to other places, the desk officers are not even there. I am not too sure whether people working in that agency don't even know much that they should do. And so they look at it as a way of earning a living. You sit down at the end of the day, you get your salary at the end of the month, and that is all. Does
the president need to need to again instruct ministers or head of parastatals to make their Servicom departments functional.
It's not
That's not the responsibility.
It's not his responsibility.
Yes,
it's not his responsibility.
We're trying to see the kind of leadership that the president now, being the driver of the vehicle, that he must provide for the ministers.
Yes, the president, the confidence the president has on the ministers speaks volumes. It is incumbent upon the ministers to make sure that their ministries are working. And they already have technocrats on ground that should know what they are doing. And like we have said here, is that when you come up with a posture, with a disposition that you are the boss, you are not the leader, that you know it all, they will watch you fail.
Yes.
They will watch you fail. I can tell you, when I was appointed commissioner, I called my confidential secretary, as little in quote, as you see a confidential secretary, as you see junior staff, I call her, close the door, and ask her how, in fact, I learned how to minute files from her. I learned which file should go to where from her. I was not looking at myself as the commissioner, I was ready to learn. And until I left office, there are questions that I will ask her because she has been there, she knows it. For example, in the Ministry of Health today, there are theater nurses that are better than doctors.
Yes, exactly.
Because they have been there for a long time. 25 years experience, 30 years experience, and you come because you are the medical doctor. We respect you, but there are theater nurses that would say, no, doctor, if you do this, if you perform this operation on this, it will not work this way. And they know. So you have to leverage on the experiences of people like that. It's not the president. If the president is to do everything, then he will collapse.
Yes.
Definitely he will collapse. If the minister needs to do everything, he will collapse. The agencies in the ministries are the live wire of the ministries. It is not even the parent ministry. It is the agencies that give life to the ministry. So if the people that are holding, that are manning the agencies, the heads of departments and the rest of them, the heads of agencies are not working, then you can be sure that there is going to be a problem. We talked about lighting Abuja. If the person that is responsible for the lights in Abuja, responsible for the parks in Abuja, for example, is not working, there's nothing the minister can do. He can speak and speak and speak and shout and shout and shout, and tomorrow there are instances. There are instances that you give an order and they look at you. Ahmed Mazu, former governor of Bauchi, said it. When he was leaving office, 1 year to leaving office, you give directive, they will not comply. And he said, imagine that this is a commissioner that I appoint. And I am giving him directive, he will tell me yes, but he will not do it. But his fault was that he did not fire them.
Yes.
Yes, he should have the ability to hire and fire.
Yes, talking about hire and fire, you know, while the President Tinubu was congratulating the governors to the administration of renewed hope, he said, and I quote, "As your country honors you today, you must each work to make yourself worthy in the eyes of God and our entire nation's people. Your highest obligation is to restore public faith in governance so that our people can once again believe that government can be a positive force for transformation and a vehicle for collective progress of all citizens of this great nation." Let's bring in Professor Kuta to talk about that.
Mr. President is very, very emphatic about, driving the process as the leader, but he's not saying I as the president alone. He's saying it's a collective responsibility for all of them, and that they should have abiding faith in the fact that if you take our national anthem or national pledge, it should not just be for recitation, but it should be part of our way of life as leaders saddled with various responsibilities. And I'm very confident that if you take the oath of office and you carry the Quran or the Bible, it doesn't mean that you are just deceiving God. No, you can't deceive God. God is watching you and your belief system are real, then you are answerable to God. And so, he has given you the assignment. You must deliver as you have sworn to. So therefore, I believe Mr. President is only charging the ministers to have that confidence that Nigerians are watching. Nigerians are expectant. They don't have room for excuses. And this is where my hope is very, very high. Because the kind of people that I have assembled, many of them are of awesome backgrounds, incredible pedigree, and they cannot allow themselves to fail. Many of them have fallback positions, and that is one of the good lessons, that if you have a reputation, you are coming from such organizations that look up to you to be a flag bearer, that you cannot disappoint them. As Professor Okechukwu said, in the near past, communities assemble, but Mr. President has already said you are not representing a colony or your tribe or your region. You are working for the Federal Republic of Nigeria. It's just like Nigerian players. When you talk to some of them in the near past, to wear Nigerian jersey, the green, white, green, is like a fulfillment. The whole world is watching you because you are representing Nigeria. So for me, every citizen of this country, not only the ministers, for every responsibility we agree to undertake, we must do it as if we are going to die now and will be answerable to our Creator. So we don't have to do it because somebody is watching you. Do it as if your Creator, you are going to be answerable. And you should know, as our religion teaches us, leadership is a responsibility, and you are going to be accountable to God for whatever you do, the opportunity God has given you. And even philosophers had postulated in many centuries ago that leadership is a trust that you hold on behalf of the people. It's not about you, it's about the people. And therefore, if you have an assignment before you, you must deliver in the sense that the people should benefit from your actions and inactions. If you know any decision or any action you take is going to be tantamount to dislocation of people socially, economically, and their well-being is going to be altered, you have to think twice. And that is where you have what we call, cushion effect of actions. For example, Mr. President was clear that the software subsidy benefits the few, that he wants to take the nation back, and that they are going to take some decisions. It will be harsh at the moment, but at the end of the tunnel, it will be good for all. For example, if you have to increase your foreign reserves, you must also be able to, improve your currency. Your foreign reserve must be strong. So therefore, he's working assiduously to address all those issues. But instead of having a few people benefit, less than 1% of the population, then why don't you take decisions that will bring prosperity to 99% of the population in no distant time? So I believe it's a collective responsibility, and everybody in the saddle, no matter how little your responsibility are, do it. I have encountered a police officer. I was traveling and he stopped me. He said, "Please, can I see your identity?" That was around Jeba. I brought out my ID card from the University of Ibadan. He said, "Okay, thank you, Professor. I wish you a safe trip." I stopped on my own. I said, "Mr. Police Officer, you are the kind of police Nigeria is looking for." On my own, I said, I gave him something to give to everybody in that place. I didn't bribe him, but I was amazed that there could be officers who still think that you need to, identify yourself to be sure that this car you are driving is yours. in my ID card bearing University of Ibadan.
Professor Kuta, thank you. I'm sorry, we're running out of time now. We just have to take our concluding questions. And that was very thoughtful of you. And indeed, we have quite a number of such policemen, you know, in different parts of the country. Now, if we look at what is happening, the state of the nation now, and the impact of the, you know, few policies that Mr. President had taken. Fuel subsidy, we know the impact. We know what inflation is doing to, you know, food items. The foreign reserve is depleted and all that, and all its impact. Professor Ikechukwu, I just want you to situate the president's charge to the ministers, the part where he said, again, you are not a minister of a particular state, colony, region, or ethnic nationality, a minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. I'd like you to relate to the current state of the nation, and most importantly, to the renewed hope agenda.
I'll do that, but let me backtrack from some of the last observations. Yes, he has chosen very good ministers, but I need to place it on record that from a purely personal level, I don't rate all the ministers the same. So that it wouldn't look like I said, oh, I'm very excited about everybody in that cabinet. No. The second thing is the charge to the ministers, but even the charge, if you wouldn't mind, let me touch a little again on Servicom. Service compact with Nigerians, that's what Servicom is. And it was a result of a policy initiative, long retreats, where all the ministries were told, go at government expense, redesign your vision and mission, and come out. Nigerians need to be assured. What it means is that for any action of government, is actually Servicom that will be able to say, this expense serve Nigerians appropriately. Yes, the other, this thing I forgot to add on the list for questioning is, what do you call it, BPE. So, Servicom, I was in a ministry as head of communication, where Servicom provided, what do you call this, that if you pass, it makes a noise, it's supposed to check you. Yes. It was installed, yes, it was installed in all the entrances, and all of them, each was at least 3 feet smaller than the door. So people will come and walk past it. Procurement. Now, the point I'm trying to make is that Servicom, Nigeria must not lose the value that made it set up Servicom. Such that for every agency, it is Servicom that will be able to say, yes, we confirm that this compact was fulfilled. And the same with the monitoring unit thing. So now back to the ministers and the president's charge to them. It doesn't matter what charge any president gives. A charge is a statement of intent and good intention. It's supposed to be a warning. I think the more important things for the ministers to focus on is the fact that they need to leave a legacy. First, they have their personal reputation. Second, they must show what happened in their tenure and its wide impact. And they must make a distinction between expenditure and impact. And also must have the right conception of legacy. Let's suppose I'm Minister for Transport, and you hear me talking about how much we've spent on so and so. Not how much you spend, but are the people benefited? Do you know that this year, as Minister of Work, we spent 2 trillion on roads? If there are no roads, you're talking about expenditure. Now, talking about legacy too, and that's something that needs to be redefined. It got badly battered, beginning with the PDP years and now. When you speak of legacy, for instance, what is our legacy in the Southwest? It's not Cocoa House, it's education. Yes. Is the effort he made and succeeded in convincing the entire Yoruba nation and Yoruba elite that it is knowledge that leads to development.
It's power.
Not all these things. What is Ahmadu Bello's legacy? Groundnut? No. The effort he made to convince Northerners that there are disadvantages we must deal with, that there are capacities we need to develop, that we are a people. We may not be at the same level with the others, but these are the things which if we keep doing them, we catch up. That is legacy. Yes. Today, what do you find as legacy? I go to my local government, my legacy project, they clear a piece of land, I build a statue of a woman breastfeeding, and there's a generator, it gets lit up in the, that's his legacy. And the people are dancing. A borehole. And so you see that the concept of legacy has been physicalized, such that the people do not realize they are being swindled in conversations about the dividends of democracy. Now, that's one thing that has to be reversed. And then the personalization of government interventions must stop. You can't have yourself saying, oh, okay, Ikechukwu, built by him. This is a government functionary spending our money, but he has the title. And therefore, all those things where they exist, they should be raised. Also, when things are done, even in thanking the president, they shouldn't demean us because the country doesn't belong to him.
Yes, Prof, we've actually run out of time. Let's bring in Dan Majan for your closing thoughts, briefly, in 30 seconds.
My closing thoughts are the fact that there's a lot that we need to do work on. The Ministry of Information and National Orientation has a lot of work to do in changing the values and attitudes of Nigerians. The people must be made to understand that it is no longer business as usual, which is going to be a Herculean task, but we must start from somewhere. The president has spoken, the executive arm has been set, and so we will want to, in fact, I would prefer a situation whereby we will see action more than we hear people talk.
Okay, on
Let
that
us
note,
see action more than we hear
yes. Let's bring in Professor Okuta for his closing thought briefly, please.
I say with all sense of responsibility that this is our country. Nigeria will continue to be one indivisible, united, strong, Vera nation. And I prayed and I call on Nigerians to support this wonderful team that is coming to change the narrative. I wish Nigerians well, and I pray that Mr. President will succeed.
Professor Mohammed Yahya Okuta, former Secretary to the State Government, Niger State, thank you so much for joining us on Good Morning Nigeria. And Honorable Dan Majang, former Commissioner for Information and Communication, Plateau State. It's a pleasure, as always, to have your input and insight into the conversation. Professor Oke Ikechukwu, Professor of Strategic Management and Human Capital Development. I can see your excitement. Thank you so much. Over now to our sport desk for the latest in the world of sports.
Atletico Madrid have announced the signing of Spanish-born Nigerian striker Samuel Omorodion from Granada. Atletico announced Omorodion's signing in a statement released on their website on Monday. According to the Madrid-based club, Omorodion has signed a 5-year contract that will run till 2028. The 19-year-old was born in Melilla, Spain to Nigerian parents and is eligible to play for the two countries. He currently plays for the Spanish under-19 national team.
Me considero un jugador rápido y bueno, me defino también como un futbolista que tiene gol. A corto plazo pues seguir creciendo como futbolista, aprender de los mejores, aprender mucho de todos los delanteros, incluso hasta de los defensas, pues al final va a ser bueno para mí.
Meanwhile, Manchester United forward Mason Greenwood would leave the club by mutual agreement after a 6-month internal investigation into his conduct. Greenwood was arrested in January 2022 following allegations surrounding material which was published online. Charges against the 21-year-old England international, including attempted rape and assault, were dropped on 2nd February 2023. Greenwood, whose contract at Old Trafford runs till 2025, could now be sold or loaned to another club for the remainder of his contract. He remains on full pay, but will not return to training with United.
That's Good Morning Nigeria for today. Join us again tomorrow for another edition. I am Jummai Yusuf.
And I'm Claire Adelabu Abdul Razak. And of course, have a great day. And congratulations to all Arsenal fans. Bye-bye.
Yes, we won. Bye.
Your microphone.